I have worked with couples who feel anxious about retirement with $1.5 million and others who feel confident about retirement with $800,000. The difference is not their portfolio, their income history, or their advisor. In every plan I build, the distinction between a confident retirement and an anxious one comes down to 5 specific behaviors, and 4 of these have nothing to do with numbers in your account. I've seen these 5 behaviors help shift clients from uncertainty to clarity, sometimes within a single planning quarter. Most people are unaware of them because the financial industry is built around accumulation. The behaviors that build confidence in retirement live in a different part of the playbook. It's one that many planners simply don't have the reps in. If you're new here, my name is Sunuk Jin. I'm a certified financial planner, an enrolled agent licensed by the IRS for tax planning, and the author of There Are No Do-Overs at Retirement. I lead a team of advisors and planners serving pre-retirees and business owners across the country. And the framework I'm about to share is the same one we use with every client who walks through our door. It's called the Retirement Confidence Builder. And today I'm going to walk you through the 5 behaviors that sit at the heart of it. So let's get into it. Here's what most people don't realize about retirement anxiety. It's not a financial problem, it's a clarity problem. Many believe that having more will eliminate their worries. Another $200,000, another year of contributions, another good year in the market. It does not. I've seen it firsthand. Remember, the 2 couples I have mentioned earlier. The couple with $1.5 million is lying awake at night watching every market dip. The couple with $800,000 is traveling multiple times a year and rarely thinks about their portfolio. What separates them isn't the balance, it's the behaviors. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So let's start with the first one. It's the behavior I've seen produce the biggest shift from anxiety to clarity for my clients. Behavior number 1. Confident retirees don't chase one big number. They work with 2 specific ones. Most pre-retirees walk around with a single figure in their head. We need $2 million. We need $1.5 million. That number is a tombstone. It's a binary. You've either hit it or you haven't. And until you hit it, every market dip feels like a setback. That's not confidence. That's anxiety dressed up as a goal. Here's what confident retirees do instead. They separate their retirement into 2 distinct numbers. The first number is what I call the income floor. This is the income that covers your essential expenses, living expenses, housing, food, utilities, insurance, the things that you would pay regardless of what the market does. For most couples, the income floor is built from Social Security, pensions, and if they have them, and sometimes a small annuity. An annuity is an insurance contract that pays you a steady monthly income. The income floor is built from sources that don't move with the market. Social Security and pension benefits are paid on a schedule, not based on portfolio performance. So when the stock market drops 20%, your income floor remains intact. The second number is the flexibility budget. This is what your portfolio has to fund: your travel, your discretionary spending, the things that make retirement feel like retirement instead of just survival. The flexibility budget can flex. In a great year, you spend more. In a tough year, you trim down a bit. And because it's not paying for groceries, you can actually trim it without panic. When you separate retirement into these 2 numbers, something shifts. You stop watching the market like it controls your survival, because it doesn't. The income floor is already covered. The market only impacts the flexibility piece, and that piece you have control over. Take a couple with about a $1.1 million saved. They were terrified to retire because that number didn't feel like enough. We mapped that out. Their Social Security covered the majority of their essential expenses. The portfolio had to fund the remaining essential costs. Then the rest can fund travel, gifts to grandkids, and home upgrades. Suddenly, that $1.1 million wasn't a survival number, it was the freedom number. The 2-number framework didn't add a dollar to their savings. It just reframed what the money was actually for. That's the pattern. The 2-number framework doesn't require more money. It requires you to ask better questions about the money you already have. Behavior number 2. Confident retirees know their real spending numbers before they retire, not the numbers they assume. Here's something most retirement plans assume but don't actually verify. The plan projects an income, say it's $7,000 a month after taxes. The plan assumes the retiree's expenses will fit inside that number. But neither the planner nor the retiree has actually checked. They've used estimates, round numbers, and educated guesses. And then 12 months into retirement, the math doesn't work, and no one knows why. Confident retirees close that gap before they retire. Now, 12 to 18 months before their retirement date, they run a 90-day spending audit. For 3 months, they track every dollar that leaves their household. Not categories, not estimates, every single transaction. Then they compare two numbers side by side, what they actually spend per month based on the audit and what their retirement plan projects they will have to spend each month. If those two numbers match, they walk into retirement with the math already verified. If those two numbers don't match, they have time to do something about it before they ever stop working. What this exercise surfaces is almost always a surprise. Subscriptions that they have been auto-renewing for years, a grocery bill that's $400 a month higher than the household assumed, a dining out number that nobody had real handle on. The audit doesn't judge any of it. It just makes the real numbers visible. So the plan can be built on facts instead of guesses. These clients who skip this step often come back 6 months into retirement with the same conversation. We're spending more than we expected. We didn't realize how much we were spending on dining out. We need to reset the budget. That's not a financial failure. That's what happens when nobody checks the spending numbers before retirement starts. A 90-day spending audit won't add $1 to your portfolio, but it gives you the one piece of information every retirement plan secretly depends on. It tells you what your real life actually costs. And once you know that number, every other piece of the plan gets sharper. Quick note before we get to behavior 3. If anything I've said so far has you wondering where you actually stand, I built a free retirement confidence assessment for exactly that reason. It takes about 7 minutes, and at the end, you'll get a retirement confidence score along with the specific areas where your plan is strong and where it has gaps. The link is in the description below. Now let's keep going. Behavior number 3. Confident retirees pre-decide their response to a market downturn. Here's the truth about market downturns in retirement. Looking at market history, every 25 to 30-year retirement window has included multiple meaningful drops. We don't know when the next one will come. We don't know how deep it goes. The question isn't whether markets will drop during your retirement. The question is whether you've already decided what you'll do when they do. Most retirees haven't. They have a vague sense. We'll cut back or we'll write it out. But vague isn't a plan. Vague is what turns into anxious phone calls in the middle of a market downturn. Confident retirees write it down. Before they retire, they sit down with a planner and they answer 4 questions in writing. If the market drops 15%, what do we do? If it drops 35% and stay down for 2 years? And what is our absolute floor? The point at which we make a major change to the plan. The answers usually look something like this. At a 15% drop, they don't change anything. The portfolio is built to absorb it. At a 25% drop, they pause discretionary spending. The big trip waits a year. At a 35% drop, they tap a cash reserve they have pre-built specifically for this purpose, so they don't have to sell certain growth-oriented investments at the bottom. And the absolute floor is usually a meaningful lifestyle change that they hope they'll never need to make, but have already accepted as the fallback. Why does this matter? Because every one of those decisions is harder to make in the moment than it is to make in advance. When the market is down 25% and the news is screaming, no one is making good financial decisions. But if you've already decided, if it's written, if it's signed, if you and your spouse both know it, there's no decision to make in the moment. You just execute the plan. Confidence in a downturn comes from the work that you did before the downturn. It is almost never something that you can build during one. Behavior number 4. Confident retirees treat the Social Security decision as a math problem, but they refuse to oversimplify the math. For years, the standard advice from much of the planning industry has been simple. Delay Social Security to age 70 if you can afford it. More benefits, longer income, better outcome. And in a vacuum, that math holds up, but we're not retiring in a vacuum. And the confident retirees I work with factor in 3 variables that the standard advice tends to skip. The first one is longevity. The case for delaying to 70 assumes you'll live long enough to collect. Suppose a client draws down their IRA to bridge from 65 to 70. They're spending their own assets to wait for the larger Social Security check. Then they pass away at 68. They never collected a dollar of that delayed benefit. The Social Security they didn't claim doesn't pass to their heirs. Only what's left of their own assets does. And that asset is now smaller because they spent it bridging the gap. For clients who care about leaving a legacy, that trade-off matters. For clients in excellent health with strong family longevity, the delay math may still win, but the right answer depends on which outcome the client is actually optimizing for. That's the conversation to have first before anyone touches the numbers. The second variable is the program itself. The 2025 Social Security Trustees Report, the official annual projection, confirms that the Social Security Trust Fund will pay 100% of scheduled benefits only until 2033. And that, if Congress takes no action, continuing payroll taxes are projected to cover roughly 77% of scheduled benefits. That's the law as currently written. History suggests that Congress will likely act before that date. They acted in 1983 under similar pressure, but likely isn't certain, and a real plan has to account for the law as it stands today, not the law we hope it becomes. That single factor deserves a seat at the table when a client is weighing whether to draw down their own assets to delay claiming. The third variable is the survivor benefit, which often points back to delay. If the higher earning spouse delays to 70, the surviving spouse will receive that larger benefit for the rest of their life. For couples where one spouse earns significantly more and there's a real difference in how long each spouse is likely to live, delaying can still make a lot of sense, even with the program risk in mind. So the right question isn't claim early or delay. The right question is this: given your specific health, your family longevity history, your inheritance priorities, your spouse's earnings record, and the real policy risk on the program, what claiming strategy actually fits your situation? When we model this with clients, we run multiple scenarios: claiming early as possible at 62, claiming at full retirement age at 67, and a delay to age 70. We test each one against different scenarios for how long you might live, from passing in the late 70s to living past 90. And here's the part most people skip. We run a version of each scenario that assumes a 23% benefit cut starting in 2033, just to see how each strategy holds up. Some of our clients, we go even more conservative and count only 50 cents on a dollar, or even count nothing from Social Security to see if they can make it work. The right answer almost never lands using the rule of thumb. For some clients, claiming earlier leaves more of their assets for their heirs. For others, the higher earner delays providing the largest possible survivor benefit while the lower earner claims at a full retirement age. For some others, the cleanest answer is somewhere in the middle. The point is not which scenario wins for everyone. The point is that you actually looked. You ran the numbers using your variables and goals, and you made the decision based on your own situation, not based on a rule of thumb you heard at a dinner party or a YouTube video that didn't know your name. When you've done that work, you don't second guess the decision later. You looked at the math, made the call, and moved forward. That's confidence. And behavior number 5. Confident retirees have a written plan they can hold in their hands, not a number in their head, not a vague sense of how things should work, an actual document, printed, organized, and complete enough that if something happened to them tomorrow, their spouse could pick it up and execute it. Here's what's typically in that document. The income sources are listed in the order they will be drawn from, the accounts with their balances and the way each is taxed, the Roth conversion strategy, if there is one. That's the multi-year plan for moving money into tax-free retirement accounts with the years and amounts mapped out. The Social Security claiming dates, the amount you'll pull from each account every year, the schedule for maintaining the portfolio's balance over time, the name contacts, the planner, the CPA, the estate attorney, and the contingencies, the what-ifs we just discussed in behavior number 3. It sounds like a lot, but the difference between having it and not having it could be enormous. Anxious retirees have fragments, a 401k statement here and there, a vague memory of Social Security conversation there, a spouse who knows where the will is, but not where the broker's account login is. When something goes wrong, and in a 30-year retirement, something usually does, and they're scrambling. Confident retirees have it all in one place. When the market drops, they pull out the document and look at the downturn protocol. When the tax season comes, they pull out the document and follow the conversion plan. When one spouse passes, the other spouse pulls out the document and knows exactly what to do. A written plan is not just a financial tool, it's a confidence tool. It takes everything swirling in your head, your spouse's head, and your advisor's head and puts it on a paper. And once it's on paper, you stop having to remember it. You just have to find the document. Let's bring all 5 together. Behavior 1, replace the one big retirement number with 2 specific ones, the income floor and the flexibility budget. Solve a problem you can actually see. Behavior 2, rehearse retirement before you retire by running a 90-day spending audit. Behavior 3, pre-decide your response to a market downturn. Write down what you will do at 15%, 25%, and 35% drop before you ever need to. Behavior 4, make the Social Security decision beyond just the benefit amount. Account for your longevity, your inheritance priorities, the program's own financial pressure, and your spouse's earning record. The right strategy fits your situation, not someone else's rule of thumb. And behavior 5, have a written plan so that you can hold it in your hands. Not a number, not a feeling, an actual document. Here's what you'll notice about all 5. None of them requires a bigger portfolio. None of them requires a different income. None of them requires getting lucky with the market. They require a better questions and a willingness to do the work before you actually retire. Confidence in retirement isn't a feeling that shows up when your number gets big enough. It's the byproduct of those 5 behaviors. The clients who practice them don't necessarily end up wealthier than the ones who don't. They end up more confident. And in retirement, confidence is the asset that compounds. If you want help applying these 5 behaviors to your specific situation, that's exactly what the Retirement Confidence Builder is designed to do. It's a structured process. We walk every new client through. We map out your income floor, run your spending audit, write your downturn response, model your Social Security claiming, and produce a written plan that you can hold in your hands. If you're ready to talk through your situation, click the link in the description to schedule a complimentary planning conversation. We'll spend time looking at where you stand today, where you want to go, and which of these behaviors will move the needle the most for you. And if you haven't yet, take the Retirement Confidence Assessment first. It's free. It takes about 7 minutes, and it gives you a clear picture of where your plan is strong and where it has gaps before we ever talk. Both links are in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.